News 8's Maggie Wedlake continues our coverage with what it's taken to get to this point, bringing us back to that spring day 30 years ago in our continuing coverage.
Just days after an infant was found along the shore of the Mississippi.
In the presence of God.
The newborn, called Baby April, was buried at Molene's Riverside Cemetery.
It's not fair. There's so many people that cannot have babies that would have loved to take her. And her mama had to throw her life away.
Surrounded by grieving strangers trying to make sense of a senseless act.
It's hard to understand why someone would do it. I'm 5 months pregnant, and I don't see how anybody could even think of doing something like that.
It was April 13th, 1992, when a man walking his dog saw a trash bag floating in the river, pulling it in with a stick.
The Rock Island County coroner identified the cause of death as suffocation, asphyxiation, and hypothermia.
Former Detective Scott Williams was working that day.
The umbilical cord was still attached, and you could tell it looked like a sleeping baby. The cold water preserved the child quite a bit.
He tells News 8 even now it's difficult to think about, as so many detectives on the case were starting their own families at the time.
As each new crop of detectives come in, they're just as determined to find out, who the mother was.
Despite the ability to test it, detectives took blood and DNA evidence from Baby April, hoping evolutions in technology would eventually be what helped crack the case.
We're slowly corralling in, and we're encouraged by what we're going to find.
22 years after that spring day, in December of 2014, the Rock Island County State's Attorney announcing first-degree murder charges filed against a DNA profile.
This is essentially a case of science catching up with the suspect.
Investigators didn't have a match back in 2014, but Baby April's DNA was sent to a lab in Texas for future comparisons.
As technology improves, new leads improve, we will continue to pursue those relentlessly until justice is served.
And that's exactly what happened after sitting cold for 28 years.
Today, we found justice and brought this case to a close.
In December of 2020, police arrested 49-year-old Angela Sibke after DNA evidence pointed to her as the baby's mother.
In 1992, Sibke would have been a resident of Orion, Illinois.
The same message given 30 years ago.
And we have to take this issue very seriously, that the children of our community are not waste and should not be just dumped anywhere.
Still at the core of this case. In Moline, Maggie Wedlake, WQAD News 8.
Sibke was initially charged with first-degree murder, but she pled down to that lesser charge, leading to today's sentencing.